セッションしてプレゼンテーションしてで彼女が、プレゼンテーションの最中にムービーを出す。そうですねそうですねそうですねそうですね。
Don't sell it. Don't post it on the web.
Okay, thank you for your patience. We are now going to start today's fourth session. I'd like to bring up the next speaker, Kyle E., Kazumi Koizumi, and Eiji Shinohara. They will speak about Englishnization and engineering, how Rakuten supports engineers. The moderator will be Hirotaka Yoshioka. よろしくお願いします。
Okay, thank you. This session will talk about our Englishnization and how do we do and why and so on. So the first presenter will be Kyle. So please have your presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for coming today. Let me start the session. Ooh, we're not live. Sorry, just we're not switched.
Change the slide.
Oh, great. Sorry, let's go back. Sorry, opening slide. That's who I am. Let me give you a brief background. I'm from Regina, Canada. You can see there on the map, right in the circle from Regina, Canada. There's a short bio of my educational background from psychology, TEFL, TESOL, and financial economics. In '91, I came to Japan. This was my picture of me right before I boarded the bus from Regina to Vancouver. Went to Osaka first, then moved to Tokushima on Shikoku Island, and then moved to Tokyo in '97. Sit down, Jonathan. If you have time, please friend me on Facebook. I have no friends. Visit me at LinkedIn, and of course, follow my pins on Pinterest. Here's the short background of my career here at Rakuten. Joined in September '01. Joined the CEO office, worked on special projects, went to Ichiba, back to CEO office, corporate planning, global business, and CEO office. And then in January of 2011, he was appointed the head of the Englishnization Project, which I'll talk about shortly. Let's start with the background. So this morning, if you listen to Hiroshi's keynote address, he didn't actually explain why we truly want to do this Englishnization project. And this is one of the slides that we've been using quite often. It's from Goldman Sachs, the more than an acronym. And basically, several years ago, the global business team and Hiroshi looked at what was happening to Japan and looking at the GDP. If you see on the far left, 2006, Japan had 12% of the share of the total global GDP. All the way to 2050, we're probably down to 3%. This kind of scares us in business. Also means that the population growth is going down, which means that we had to do something about that. So the objectives of the project, let me just highlight it again for you again. One of the first ones is to share the best practices worldwide. Without having a fundamental, a core standard language, it's very hard to do this. The fourth item, attract the best global talent, which Hiroshi mentioned at the keynote address. I think this is instrumental to the long-term success of Rakuten. And the last one, I don't have a highlighted here, is to speed up the post-merger integration, or PMI. Now, this came quite obvious to us in 2005 when we acquired Linkshare. Jonathan and I, guy sitting at the back with that coffee cup in his hand, we were in charge of working on the PMI for Linkshare. And it was quite difficult for us because there were very few of us in 2005 who could speak English. So the PMI project was quite slow and laborious, but nevertheless, we persevered and we actually had a full and successful integration. The E13n Project, or the Englishnization Project now. So our code name, of course, is E13n. We started in April 2010. We finished the phase 1 in June 2012, which Hiroshi mentioned. Now we're on way to do the phase 2, which started July 2012, and when it ends, we have not determined yet, okay? So for some of you, maybe you've read Hiroshi's book, Takaga Eigo. It's only English, it's merely English, it's just English. I'm not trying to endorse the book or sell it for you or for him, but if you have a chance, if you have read it, you'll understand a little more about the project and why he actually wanted to start this. So in the phase 1 of the project, he had this in the keynote slide, but he didn't really explain it because he thinks it's quite complicated, but let me do it for him. So basically, on the very far left side, we have the employee grades from AAA down to B. Think of AAA as being senior management or SVP level. AA is VP, A is manager, okay? From the far left, from red zone to the green zone, we set numerical targets for each of the grades, as you see there. So green zone, everybody had a target score to achieve, from the AAAs at 750 all the way down to the Bs at 600. Now this was designed to motivate people to achieve some level of English language proficiency measured by the TOEIC test. And what we did was we tracked everyone on a monthly basis based on their color zones: red, yellow, orange, and green. Although it looks complicated, it's actually quite easy to track, okay? So we showed this, again, at the keynote, and if you see on the very far left, on March 2011, we had about 29% green zone of the staff. Down on the bottom, 36% of the staff had no score or who had not yet taken the TOEIC exam. Going to the far right at June, we terminated phase 1 at 87% green zone. And when Hiroshi talked about the HBS case study written by Professor Neely, in January, February of this year, January, February of last year, when we started the case study preparations, she asked me what I thought we would get by the end of phase 1. And I honestly said to her, I'd be super happy with 80%. And she basically offered a rejoinder by saying, are you serious? Do you think you'll get 80% of the staff over green zone? And I was pretty adamant about it. And that's what Hiroshi was talking about earlier today, that based on her studies working with European companies, our 2.5-year time frame was actually quite ambitious. She thought it would take us about 10 years to get to this 87%. So when we got there, she was very excited and very happy for us. And this is something which she praised Hiroshi about personally when he went to Harvard Business School to accept the AAA award, the Alumni Achievement Award, this past summer. Okay. So you see down, we got green zone 87%, orange 8, down to red to 1%. So this was our first achievement for phase 1. Now this data is a little different than the keynote slide because it only goes to the end of June. So you see we started at about 526 in October 2010. At the end of phase 1, we're at 697.7, or about 175.5% point increase during this time. So what did we do? Now, in the case study for Harvard Business School, when we started the analysis, we ran a group-wide survey on how people perceive the project. And it was quite controversial with the results. And because of that, the staff were very concerned about their ability to pass the TOEIC exam. And this was about March of last year, March and April. So when we looked at the results and Hiroshi had a one-on-one conversation with Professor Neely, he had to change his stance immediately. From the case study, if you have read it, we did not take the initial approach of supporting any language training or learning within Rakuten. The staff were left on their own. But immediately from the results, we decided to have an intervention policy, which is shown here. So we started offering classes Monday to Fridays, mornings, evenings, all day. We even ran Sunday sessions. We had speaking practice sessions with some of my teachers. Damien's in the back there. It's a little quiet, but you can say hello to him later. And in addition, we, of course, had the engineers and global experience program, which I believe Noriko's standing there, and she just hosted the GEP session upstairs an hour ago. So what Rakuten decided to do is actually spend money training people. We allowed people to stop working at certain times of the day to learn English. And last year, I even led a session for 2 months for a camp. So I taught English from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So this is what we had to do to change the morale of the company and get them to the 87% mark. So that's something which we have not said yet, but which will be explained in the follow-up case study, which Professor Neely is writing right now, which should come out this autumn for Harvard Business School. Okay? So in phase 2, now this is not yet formal, but I want to give you an insight to what we're trying to do from July 1 forward. There are the new scores. We're going to raise it to 800, probably beyond. Now, internally, I have challenged the staff to actually go higher than 800. If you remember before, the highest score prior to this for the AAAs was 750. So they have got to go up by 50 points. For the general staff, their target is 600. They've got to go to 800 now. Hopefully I can convince Rakuten management to raise this to over 900 in the future. And people scoff at me, but I'm pretty serious about that. And also in phase 2, of course, we're going to focus on the speaking program, which is not yet official, which we will talk about probably in the future when Hiroshi has a chance to speak to the public on that issue. So that's it for my presentation. The one thing I just want to add before handing it over to Koichan here is, it's not mentioned yet in many of the publications other than probably Wired UK interview or Washington Post. We actually started the Englishnization Project more than 10 years ago, unofficially. And I started that without anyone's consent or permission. I started teaching English in the mornings at one of our older offices. And one of the fruits of that labor was the original, if we could call it the GEP program, where we selected certain individuals, high potential employees, and we worked with them over a 2 or 3 month period, and their reward for their project work was a trip to Silicon Valley. And one of the members from that trip is back there, Noriko. She remembers Silicon Valley. And Jonathan was the head of the project who came with us. So that's when we started the project many, many years ago, unofficially. So That's what we did before, and this is what we're going to do in the future. So the GET program is just an extension of the Englishnization project to get everyone motivated to learn English. So before I hand it over, I'm hoping my son is watching by iPad. Hi, Junior. I'm sorry he's not here today. He's got the flu, so I just want to say hi to him. So, Koi-chan.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker will be Koi-chan, Koizumi-san, and she will explain internal PR. And please start.
Thank you.
By the way, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I will give you a microphone.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's great honor to be here today. I am supporting Englishnization as an internal communication team member. So I would like to a lot of cases today, and I would like you to feel a reality of Englishnization today. I am not good at English speaker, so please, if you have any question, please speak slowly and loudly. So at first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kazumi Koizumi. My nickname is Koi-chan. I joined Rakuten Inc. in 2000. Worked in public relations department for 5 years. I was transferred the internal communication team in 2005. So I am in charge of managing the internal web news and also internal social media. So this is Rakuten News. Rakuten News emphasized Englishnization for 2 years. So we share the useful cases and useful method of study English. And also we share the experience of successful employee, and we explain the benefit of Englishnization. So today, I'd like to show you a movie about the Englishnization, real Englishnization. So this is the contents. First, how do we study English? Second, the result of questionnaire. Third, how was our situation changed? Last, next, Englishnization. So let's start the movie. Sorry. Yes. So, how do we study English? He is studying during lunchtime on his desk. This menu is only calorie made. He is studying on the way home by using iPhone appli called I know. Yes, this is a morning vocabulary lesson.
Number 81 is A, persist. If the network problem persists, we'll have to call the provider.
Yes. They are studying during office hours. The program is listening, grammar, and vocabulary lesson. So next, the result of questionnaire. Do you think you will have a non-Japanese boss within the next 6 months? 69% answer the no. Do you think you will have non-Japanese colleagues or subordinate within the next month? 64% employee answer yes. Actually, how was our situation changed?
This is Carol's
Light side. He now reports to non-Japanese boss. It is a meeting.
Yuri-san said.
thing.
Yes, Asami mobile payments industry.
He now has a non-Japanese subordinate, and he conducts tech talk with him team every morning.
If ECC can convince
Left side, they are Japanese. Their colleagues are non-Japanese, and they are sharing their knowledge about the Rakuten Ichiba with the US and French, Germany, and Taiwan employees. What is the benefit of Englishnization?
That we're willing to share.
He is a representative from the Adobe US headquarters. We can learn about the latest case studies directly.
Rakuten, on the other side, is one of our very good partners here in Japan.
you have many
He
case-
is a Japanese
many
staff.
So, how do you start the case study? Do you have any knowledge base or some lecture?
Some
Push them live,
some lecture. He
meet,
can
talk about
question
Talk
to
about
the
next set of
expert
tests.
directly.
To hopefully have
He
really
is a
good
very
discussion
famous author
and some fun
of the
talking
Agile
about some,
Samurai. Do you know Agile
agile
Samurai?
software delivery
Uh,
techniques.
He
to find
invited
meetings. So things like we can all
to
plan.
Rakuten to
We're all
conduct a
together
workshop
now. We'll move
with
you.
employee.
Let's spend 5 minutes. Just try to come up with a slogan.
They have a very good workshop with
All right, how
very
about you guys?
famous author.
We can make friends. All right. That's great.
This is Rakuten has started the global experience
I'm
program.
looking forward to working with you.
This scene is a self-introduction by singing a song. This is a Vibe.com title in US. He is very struggling to sing.
Thank you.
So anyway, the trainee has to share their skills and knowledge with Vibe.com employees in
And then
US.
Teresa sends it to us.
Ah,
Yeah. Yes, yeah, she acts kind of like the middleman between
And
both.
simultaneously learn about the agile development from them.
Yeah, like each user
In the US.
Each Rakuten user that has Facebook Connect has that kind of special page that user can see the related item of each friends, and if there's somebody birthday coming up, it will be appear somewhere on here.
Oh, that's within their account.
Yeah.
Last part. The next project in Rakuten Group is Coordinization. This project was created to help employees learn about coding. So all staff, including sales staff and back office staff, must learn coding. This is a free course. So Mickey said that "たかが英語" is just only English. I think されど英語. But Rakuten is consider that the English and programming are indispensable tool for people in working in IT industries. So if you join Rakuten Inc., you are very good coordination teacher. So please teach me details. So this is my presentation. Thank you listening.
Thanks for Koi-chan, and she is the internal PR person, and she collect several case study and propagate to company. And our internal news is having many good articles, and sometimes it is really funny. Okay, The last person is Eiji Shinohara. He will talk about his experience regarding Englishnization and engineering life. Please.
Hi. Hi, so nice to meet you. And so let me talk about Englishnization and I. This is based on a true story. And my name is Eiji Shinohara. I'm a software engineer. And my educational background is I graduated high school that attached to university. So I never experienced university entrance exam. You know that I think university entrance exam the great opportunity to learn proper English grammar, but I never. And I graduated university, but you know, I did a lot of nomikai, that is drinking party, or gokon, like group dating, or so going to nightclub, or so I didn't study English so hard. And in 2006, I was moved by reading this book, Web Shinkaron by Umeda Mochio-san. He has been living in Silicon Valley area. And from this book, here comes the internet era, or the internet service company is great, and yeah, open source is awesome. So I worked for a system integrator company, but I decided to join the internet service company. And after joining Rakuten, I was in charge of DevOps, and I worked for Rakuten ID, that is managing membership information, and Rakuten SuperPoint. These are really core function in Rakuten. And aside from that, so Taiwan Rakuten Ichiba development got started in 2007. So as a platform, we ID and SuperPoint team provided API, but our target was not only Taiwan, but global. So we used to write source code comment in English or like that. And so do you know Linkshare? Linkshare is the online affiliate company. And so Rakuten bought or acquired Linkshare in 2005. And in 2008, there was an open position in Linkshare, and the office is located in New York. So I really wanted to be a New Yorker, so I applied for that position. But unfortunately, I couldn't make it due to my poor English. But I can say that so global opportunities were already existed in 2008 here in Rakuten. And so I have been getting used to read so technical English documents or like that, because in the internet industry, technologies are always changing. So we need to catch up or utilize that technologies to beat global competitors. But you know, there are not enough Japanese documents, so reading English documents are not so special for English for engineers. And in 2010, we got the Englishnization project started. So I studied very hard with Aino is the web service, and to build out the English vocabularies. And I was lucky, and I could go to New York on a business trip for 2 weeks. And so that made me highly motivated. So I think this kind of trigger or opportunities are needed to be motivated. And so as you know, here in Rakuten, so we are proceeding our globalization rapidly. So like this conference, yeah, crazy, all in English, but it's real. So even in Japan, we can work with international people. And my mentee is from India. And so we communicate in English. And so email or SNS or some meeting agenda is all in English. And of course, in abroad, there are a lot of opportunities. And in my case, I lived in San Francisco last year for 3 months as an Android application developer. And I participated a lot of meetups, Benkyokai in Japanese. And yeah, so that was awesome. And after that, from March to July, I lived in Toronto as a QA engineer. And so these kind of experiences are really nice to me because to live and work in abroad was one of my dreams. So yeah, my dream came true. So I really appreciate Rakuten's global strategy. But I think that this is just between us. But we engineers can communicate. We are so detailed, right? So we don't need to be so conscious about proper English. This is the Skype chat after fixing bugs. Yeah, this is very easy to understand. Yeah, so we can communicate. Anyway, so let me introduce so how to study English. So detailedly, I wrote an article for Software Design magazine, but so briefly, I want to introduce 2 services. So as an engineer, so we need to focus is so build vocabulary and getting used to talk in English. So I know it's very nice for vocabulary, and RealJob is very nice, so conversation tool. And these are very affordable, so yeah, I recommend this. And finally, so Rakuten has been proceeding globalization, not only English. So I don't feel we are crazy. And so being an engineer is beneficial thing to ride global wave like me. And I think so Japanese engineers are skilled enough. So we go to variety of Benkyokai in Tokyo, but that is very high level. So yeah, so we can do that, yeah. And but so becoming like a native English speaker is not so easy or almost impossible, or I don't know. And actually, I'm very nervous about discussion after this presentation. But so I feel that the mindset is very important. So just have fun, or so get excited, or stay positive, or yeah. So that is very important. So that is my message. So thank you for listening. That's all from me.
Shinohara-san, thank you so much. It was an amazing story, and I believe his experience gave us a big encourage to learn new language, English. So I'd like to have some questions. If any, could you raise your hand? I will bring microphone. Any questions? Okay, wait a minute.
Thank you for the presentation. I have 2 questions about that's right. Is how amount of the budget, or how percentage of the annual Rakuten sales is allocated to the English training program? And the second one is the first presentation. I see that looking at the slide, the GDP in Asia is increasing toward 2050. So do you think the English, just studying the English is, just only studying the English is enough? Do you think? So do you think the Chinese or any other languages do you think to need to studying for globalization or like that? Thank you.
Great, thank you for the 2 questions. The first question, I guess, or maybe I'll answer both questions. In regards to your first question about what is the percentage of the training budget based upon maybe sales or op income, unfortunately, we do not release that data. So unfortunately, I can't give you that information. I do apologize. For the second question about as the GDP grows in Asia or APAC, the importance of English actually is probably going to get larger because although China is going to become probably the country with the largest GDP per capita or GDP per general in the world, it's probably not very easy for many people to learn Mandarin, to be honest. I mean, I'm trying to learn Mandarin. It's going to take me years before I can learn Mandarin. But most likely, English is going to be English will be, and probably is right now, the common standard language for business. In deference to this gentleman in front of me, a globalist, I still believe English is going to be the standard forms of communication. So I think it's going to become even more important for us in the future.
Another questions? Okay.
As a Japanese company, could you talk a little bit about when you get communications from, say, the government or legal entities in Japan, do you translate them into English for internal use?
I guess I'll answer that again. When communication is sent to us, or we receive communication from government entities, that information probably remains in Japanese, unless it needs to go into the hands of a non-Japanese speaker.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, wait a minute.
What percentage of internal communication, say in presentations or meetings, would you say occurs in Japanese or in English?
Let me turn that over to these two fine people first.
It's up to the situation, but these days, so in development department, so there are a lot of engineers from China or India or US so that kind of project, almost 90 or 80% are in English, and but of course we are faced very difficult situation. So sometimes very unique accent or very the speed is very fast, and so we utilize whiteboard and write down and the diagram, and so that is very helpful.
Yes, there are one people in my public relationship department. We have one person from overseas, so the 100% meeting has in English. But if nobody non-Japanese, so we have Japanese only Japanese meeting several times. To be honest,
that's a violation of company policy.
Kyle, do you have any?
Oh yes. Well, of course, for my team, we only speak in English, and if my team does break out into Japanese, I kind of have to kindly remind them that we should be the role model for the rest of the company, because Englishnization sits inside the global HR team. But as I think Hiroshi or Mikitani-san said earlier, all the management meetings are in English. All the executive officer meetings are in English. So they themselves have to be the perfect role model for the rest of the company. And we are trying to push it down to the B level.
Actually, we have a weekly all-hands meeting. Every employee attends the meeting, and the language is 100% English, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you for your great presentation. I'm curious about Rakuten's TOEIC strategy because I think TOEIC is a very good material to improve listening and reading skill. But generally speaking, Japanese people are not familiar with speaking and writing skill. So if you have what effective idea do you have to improve speaking and writing skill?
Could I answer that first? Yes. Okay. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, we have from phase 2, we'll actually have 2 components. We'll have continue with the TOEIC focus, the listening and the reading, and the speaking side of it. At this time, we have not made any formal plans on how we'll measure speaking per se, or how fast we'll ask people to improve their level of speaking. Having said that, we are looking at ways to promote speaking and writing. And we know it's going to be a little challenging at first, but we know it's going to be a long haul going forward. We have some great teaching staff on our team, and we have some great advisors that we're working with, some publishing houses, of course, and testing companies that we are going to look at a long-term strategy on how we'll do this. So all I can say to you now is this. Keep watching the news, keep reading the press, because pretty soon, I believe Mikitani-san is going to announce our plans. And if not, I guess you have to wait for the Harvard Business School seed case, the one that will probably have to be written up in 2013, 2014, which we'll announce it then.
Okay.
Please ask the engineer or the PR person a question. Thank you.
Sorry, my question is not about engineering. I'm curious about why Rakuten decide to train employees English skill, not just hiring people who speak English, like Samsung. What's the difference of Rakuten or Samsung, not like global English?
It's a really good question. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll do it again. I think, I honestly believe and feel the reason why we, Mikitani-san adopted the program of the project, of course, is what we said in the keynote, what I said earlier. But at the same time, we have a large staff base which has a great amount of knowledge, and the people helped build this company from ground up. You know, if you know anything about the Rakuten story between, Hiroshi Mikitani, Honjo-san, Sugihara-san, or Seiichi or Kobayashi-san, and of course Mikitani-san's wife, they built this company from scratch. And over the years, for 11 plus years, 12 plus years, we've had great employees. Unfortunately, they can't speak English. So I would probably not be here today if Hiroshi decided to throw away 12,000 employees and just hire foreign speakers, foreign nationals who can speak English. That's not the type of company I want to work at. So I believe by trying to roll out this program, whether it's a 2-year program, 3-year program, 5-year program, 10-year program, it's important for Rakuten to be a role model for the rest of the country. This is not an easy thing to do, but Mikitani-san is wholly committed to making this work. Now, I know we do follow what Samsung is doing in Korea. I think it's a great company. But just hiring people who can speak, have very high level of proficient English is an easy way to do it. Now, for us, we'd rather have the staff that we do have and try to improve their language abilities on reading and writing. I mean, reading and listening, of course, on the first side of the TOEIC, then on speaking and writing later. And that's what we're working on in phase 2. But as Mikitani-san said earlier today, more and more of our new hires will be foreign nationals, of course, who speak English. That's just the way it is, because as we try to recruit global talent. So for any engineers out here who are thinking of joining us and your English level is not high enough, don't worry. You can join my class. I'll be happy to teach you. Please don't worry. Okay?
Okay. Koizumi-san, do you have any comment regarding Rakuten culture or something like that? Please.
We have already have almost 7,000 Japanese people. They are very good experience and have a very good success story in Japan. So we have to expand this success story to the overseas. So we need to train the Englishnization program, not only enter the new graduate, but also the already entered staff. Is okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Over there, please. 向こうの、はい。
Please make an enduring question.
Yes, from the point of software programming, do you have any rules of writing in English? How much amount of rule to write in English? From supposing the naming rule of parameters or functions or any documents, or even a mere idea. Do you write in English, and do you exchange your idea in English?
So for example, so parameters or method names. So yeah, so before Englishnization, so we've already done that. So we never used like shohin joho, or so item information, or so that is very natural. So I didn't care about it. Yeah. But for example, so we call that so the sharding, or so that is not how you say in Japanese, and you know, some words are were actually in Japanese, but so nowadays we translate, or so nowadays the using English word is very natural. So yeah, so we are not so deeply thinking, but yeah, so using English naturally. But our development process so always reviewing. So that helps us, I think. Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think time is up, and I believe many questions has raised, and I'm very happy to have such great questions. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kyle-san, Koizumi-san, and Shinohara-san, and Yoshioka-san. Our session here is this stage are now finished. So thank you very much, everyone. We will start our lightning talk at 5 p.m. on the A stage. Please move to the next venue, A stage. I hope you will continue to enjoy the Rakuten Technology Conference 2012.